Welcome to the Tyler's Place podcast, the official podcast of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. I am your host, Matt Bowers, 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason, coming to you from the House of the Temple in Washington, D.C. And this interview is a little bit of an extension from an article and an interview I did with Brother Dr. John Kyle Day. He is a professor of history at the University of Arkansas at Monticello. He penned an article in the March-April 2023 edition of the Scottish Rite Journal on the time that he took to conduct research here at the House of the Temple for the Quatuor Coronati Conference. And the subject matter was the reformation of Freemasonry in the former states of the Confederacy, but particularly in Arkansas in the aftermath of the American Civil War. I will include a link to that article reading as well as the interview in the notes for this interview. Needless to say, it is quite the honor and privilege to have the opportunity to conduct that sort of research and then present it to a group such as the Quatuor Coronati. So without taking any more of your time, oh, by the way, I failed to remind you all that the Tyler's Place podcast was ranked in the top 20 of feedspot.com's top Masonic podcasts. Okay, just had to get that in there. So it is my honor and privilege to have the opportunity to interview Brother John Kyle Day and to share it with you all. So have a listen. Enjoy. Super happy you were able to have some time to share your experience with me at the Quatuor Coronati. And I'm asking this first question really for anyone, not just for Masons. How do you go about getting research or an article accepted by them for presentation? It seems like a really privileged opportunity to be a part of that process.
Well, I think so. I am very privileged and honored to be a member of Quatuor Coronati Correspondence Circle. Just to review, Quatuor Coronati Lodge number 2076 is a member of the United Grand Lodge of England, and it is the oldest and most prestigious lodge of research in the world, or so it says. And they were a lodge that started back in the late 19th century to use some of the theories of history and methods of the modern historical discipline. They were the first one to really apply that to Freemasonry and take a more, we have this romantic view of history and so forth, and romantic view of legendary view of the origins of Freemasonry and so forth. But they were the first ones to kind of professionalize and use that. And it's a very prestigious lodge, limited just a few members. It's by invitation only. I'm very honored to be a member of the Quatuor Coronati Correspondence Circle, which is open to anyone, and I think any Mason, and as well as non-Masons alike. And so we receive their annual communication. We're able to attend their conferences, able to receive some of their other benefits. So while I'm not a member of the lodge, I'm very, very honored and blessed to be a part of the correspondence and be able to participate. This lodge, I was going to attend the meeting in 2020, which was called Freemasonry on the Frontier. And it was dedicated to Freemasonry in the New World, and particularly on the frontier in the 18th and 19th century. And it was going to be in Boston, but it was canceled because of the pandemic. But I went ahead and submitted an essay and was accepted anyway for publication. So that came out in 2021, which is a really great volume, by the way. If you want to, there's some really great authors in there. And so this next meeting was held in honor of the 1723 constitutions, which is really one of the founding constitutions of modern Freemasonry and so forth. And particularly the way it has been portrayed as one of the founding documents of the Enlightenment, and more rational view of the world. And so I submitted a paper on that pertaining to my research, and my research was on one of the latter aspects of that, particularly regarding the Civil War and Reconstruction. But it was accepted, and I was allowed to go to Queen's College at Cambridge and give a presentation. So yes, I was very honored to do that. I'm very glad to do so. But I would strongly encourage everyone to if you are interested in Masonic research, to join QCCC or join our own, I think, which is really great, Scottish Rite Research
Right.
Society,
Right.
and the wonderful book annual publication of Heredom that we get. We're attracting some of the leading Masonic scholars in the world who are submitting to Heredom, and our editor Adam Kendall just does a crackerjack job. The volumes look really nice. The articles are very well edited. They're thoroughly reviewed. Really tip top stuff that's going there. And you also as a member of Scottish Rite Research Society, you get a copy of the Plumb Line, which is our annual newsletter, which has some great articles in there as well. So I really enjoy it as a professional historian, and who's also really active in Freemasonry. It gives me an opportunity to study my, one of my most important parts of my life. And kind of, I used to think that Mark Twain said, make your vacation your vocation, or vocation your vacation, or vice versa. I now found out that I don't think he said that, but it's still a good saying. And so I like to use that as well. It's allowed me to do some traveling and to pursue research in Masonic libraries, and really a labor of love. So I'm very honored to be able to do that very much. And again, not just professional historians. I would encourage Masons. I think we're always talking about rebuilding the fraternity, and our Grand Commander James Coles talked about a renaissance coming in Freemasonry, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think this new generation is going to find a lot of a good in Freemasonry. And I think we're going to have this renaissance that Commander Cole's talking about. And one of that is looking into our very rich history. And so I would encourage all of my Masonic brethren, if you're interested in history, and if you're interested in Masonic history, start with the history of your local lodge, and look at, go look at minutes from yesteryear, and talk about, Freemasonry in your lodge from the Depression, or Freemasonry in lodge during the Civil War. We have a lot of minutes, and I think probably on the East Coast much better than we do, but I'm sure that y'all have got minutes going back to prior to the Civil War in some of your old lodges and your Grand Lodge, and looking at some of the work on not just on research in that sense, but also look at preserving a lot of your old photos that are, lying in heaps, and put those in nice frames and glass, and get those on the wall, and find out who those men were who came before us. Because if we're gonna pass on this great tradition that we've inherited and pass it on to the next generation, let's work to do that. And I think that will also help us to attract new members in the next generation of Freemasons. I really do.
Yeah, in my Blue Lodge, I've got one brother that he'll have his first article published that he wrote in the January, February Scottish Rite Journal. And
Great.
He sent me something one day, and he's like, what do you think of this? Do you think I could get this in the magazine? And I'm reading this, and you take for granted, just because of the general conversations you have with people, that maybe they could have something else brewing up there. And I read this article, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I was like, I want to double check this. And I sent it to, a coworker, and I was like, what do you think of this article? And do you think we could get this submitted? And not 5 minutes later, he's back to me. He's like, absolutely. He's like, I don't even need to edit it. And I think he was happiest about that.
Right. Yeah. Again, the Scottish Rite Research Society, we just received Art de Hoyos's edition of Albert Pike's The Porch in the Middle Chamber, which I'm really looking forward to reading. It's right there on my desk, and it's on that stack, but it's next up. And yeah, we get really good scholarship through the Scottish Rite Research Society, and just like Quatuor Coronati correspondence circle. So I would encourage all our brethren to get involved in those research organizations. A lot of states, a lot of jurisdictions have individual lodges of research, like my Missouri Lodge of Research is really great. If your state doesn't have one, if your region doesn't have one, getting a roundtable, not just developing a lodge of research, but at least a Masonic roundtable where y'all can find a common subject to discuss and research for programs of education. I would encourage everyone to get involved in that. Yeah,
absolutely. And to backtrack a little bit from the first question, you said that the presentation from the presentation end of things, it's not just Masons, it can be anybody presenting something.
Yes.
As long as it's been accepted. Is that presentation though open to the public?
Yes. It was not a tiled lodge at all. It was a
Okay.
formal history conference. Now, the majority of of course, the majority of the scholars in the audience there were Masons, but there was professional academics, of course, um, some really famous Masonic scholars were there. It was really nice. We had scholars from Turkey, from all over the United States, from Scotland, from England, from France, from Sweden, Puerto Rico, really from across the globe, professional academics as well as independent scholars.
Right.
And I got some really good feedback on my paper. I had a brother scholar from Lebanon who gave me some good insights that I would
Well,
never have a
that
chance to
kind of
get.
leads me up to the next question that I had for you. What kind of follow up? Obviously, this is more than just, I would assume, more than just one day of hearing people present their research on something. Correct?
Yes. It was a 3-day event. It was really nice. It was at Queen's College in Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
Cambridge is just fantastic. It's just such a beautiful college town, university
Right.
town. Queen's College is established in 1478, which,
Wow.
coming from the southern United States, that's 15 years before Columbus, arrived. So it's
Right.
really mind blowing for someone like me. And
Sure.
just getting a chance to tour Cambridge, the university community, and all the great colleges there, and a lot of the history there was really fantastic. The night we arrived a day early, and the Cambridgeshire was having the end of a 5-year festival, and so there was a Steward's Lodge who was hosting an event, and it was a closed door event, but to see one of their great steward lodges out in full regalia and in their tuxedos, and talking with them about English Freemasonry, that was quite educational in its own right. Some really nice guys, nice fraternity brothers.
Yeah.
Very much so.
How is there a limited amount of follow up post your presentation? Is it formal? Is there a group of people that are asking you questions about it? I wouldn't assume that it's like, here's my work and that's that.
No, well, I was at the end of the day, but it was a formal academic conference, so we had different panels on different themes. And since my paper was regarding the Civil War and Reconstruction, it was the last period of time. Most of the conference focused on the 18th century, on Hanoverian England,
Mm-hmm.
on the 1723 constitutions themselves, how the 1723 constitutions really proliferated throughout the Atlantic world as an impetus and driver for the Enlightenment. Of course, probably the most famous aspect for Americans is Benjamin Franklin's first book that he published was the 1723 Constitutions.
Wow.
In book form, and that was the first book that Brother Franklin published, and so he felt it necessary to get those out there. And so we talk about the American Enlightenment, Franklin being the head of the American Enlightenment, but getting that out there. Kind of the intellectual milieu that was Hanoverian England with Sir Isaac Newton and Desaguliers, who was Newton's assistant, and learned quite a lot about that. It was really great. My panel included Brother Oscar Lane from the Grand Lodge of New York. He's one of the great Masonic writers working today. So it's a privilege to work with him. And he was talking about revolutionary Freemasonry a little bit before mine, but getting a chance to
Rub elbows, basically.
Yeah, to rub elbows with some of the great scholars was really great. Margaret Jacobson, of course, one of the founders of a formal study of Freemasonry in the modern days. Of course, her famous book "Living the Enlightenment." She was there, so it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, I got a little bit of taste of research and history. This was my first biennial session in DC that I was working at, but I got to attend some of the things, and one of them was the presentation from illustrious brother Brent Morris and Art de Hoyos. Sitting there, and now granted, I was there with the microphone for people to ask questions and stuff like that, but some of the questions and certainly some of the answers, I'm standing there and I'm jaw drop, because it's like I have no idea what any of this is, and I really need to crack the books, as they would say, to get into that.
Yeah, brothers Morris and de Hoyos are both members of Quatuor Coronati, and I think Brother Morris is a past master. they're, of course, two of the great Masonic scholars of their generation. So it's nice to have them in the Scottish Rite. And again, I would encourage all of our brothers, if you get a chance, particularly Scottish Rite brethren, but everyone, visit the House of the Temple and visit our great library that we have. Remember, that's our library, and it's the oldest library in Washington, D.C. It's just a treasure trove of Masonic history and so forth, and great Masonic titles throughout the world. But get interested in studying in Masonry, and our lectures are great, and our lectures are important, but study our history, because we've got a history that's out there. We just need to remember it, and we need to bring it to the forefront.
As equally important as the library would be our librarian, Larissa Watkins.
Yes.
She probably knows more than the average Mason out there.
Yes, I really enjoyed meeting Miss Watkins. She's fantastic. I brought my boy there, and she was so kind to let my boy hang out while I did research and stuff. Yeah. She was so helpful in all my research requests. We have a great staff there at the House of the Temple.
So when is this research presentation? When and how is it available to the public? Is it video, audio, written?
I would check I should have done this before I spoke with you, but I would check the Quatuor Coronati website. They have more information, and we on their Quatuor Coronati YouTube channel, they're going to have the entire conference up on YouTube pretty soon. There's also some really good videos on the Quatuor Coronati YouTube channel. If you want to check them out, there's a really good video on the 1723 constitutions, and I was actually going to show that. We saw that at the conference, but that's something I get from Masonic education. It'd be really easy to show that film to everybody's lodges during Masonic education. At lodge night, it'd be something that people would really be interested in, and it would kind of spark conversations, I think, about the Enlightenment, about Masonry's relationship with the Enlightenment, and so forth.
Right. What other parts of the process can of going over there and being involved can you add, as just a separate thing?
I would encourage people. Again, this is so we're talking about bucket lists, but getting a chance to go to the United Grand Lodge of England was fantastic, and going to their library, which is it's the sea. There's so much to look at. I was only able to spend a couple days in their archives, but it's critical to my research. I'm hoping to go back as soon as I can. I'm maybe able to go back in March to continue on this project. I'm hoping to produce at least one more article in this. It's kind of a trilogy from the first two volumes. It's my next article will be somewhat of a coda to the theme that I've been working on, and so I'm hoping to go back. But encourage you, if you get a chance. United Grand Lodge of England is quite impressive, and to go there, and if you get a chance, it's really worth it for every Mason to go, for sure. I hope we can. Again, I would encourage everybody. I think next October. We just had the annual meeting of the Scottish Rite Research Society last month at Indiana University, which is another great archive. They have I'm probably going to get the exact wording wrong, but they have the Institute on Modern Fraternalism at Indiana University. And that's where the annual meeting of the Scottish Rite Research Society was next year. I'm not sure where it's going to be next year, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in October. I'd encourage everyone to, if you can, try to go there and hear some great scholars doing some work in Freemasonry and so forth.
Once again, huge thanks to Brother John Kyle Daly for sharing his amazing opportunity to present his research at the Quatuor Coronati. I am Matt Bowers, 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason. The Tyler's Place podcast is brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. You can check us out on our homepage at scottishrite.org, our Facebook page at facebook.com/Scottish Rite Freemasonry, on YouTube at Scottish Rite Masons. If you have any comments or questions, please leave one for us. Also, make sure you like and share this podcast, and we will catch you next time here at the Tyler's Place.